exciting. Here's the new book. It's called Hatter Madigan, Ghost in the Hatbox, co-written by Adrienne Kress, who is here sitting beside me.
Yes, I am.
Right now.
Yes.
Let's, the Hatbox, HATBOX, stands for something. Holographic and transmutative base of extreme combat.
Obviously.
Well, duh.
Yeah, clearly.
That sounds very exciting.
It is very exciting.
This was a co-creation. You've written a bunch of books that have done really, really well, and we've talked to you on the show about some of your other books. So congratulations on all the great awards that you've received. Let's just talk about that. Let's see. The Friday Society did well. Alex and the Ironic Gentleman did well. Timothy and the Dragon's Gate, and of course Outcast, that was the latest one. So this is just the next in your evolution as a writer.
Taking over the world. It's part of my world domination plan, and Frank has been so kind to help me with that. So.
What made you decide to co-write a book this time?
Well, this was actually really interesting because Frank approached me. We were both published by the same publisher. So this is actually a book that is set in the same world and is sort of a prequel to his Looking Glass Wars series, which was a New York Times best-selling series. And so the publisher of that and the publisher of the Friday Society were the same. So he messaged me, and he wanted to work on something, but then he told me about how he wanted to do these prequels for these books, and I got very excited. I was like, can that be the something we work on together maybe? And he was keen, and it went from there.
How do you collaborate? I mean, it must be so different from writing on your own.
Yeah, it really is, and it's sort of, I guess, a brand new experience. I've done some playwriting and some screenwriting, which is a lot more of a collaborative process generally, but I've never done it with books before, and he hadn't done it with books before, so it was a lot of trial and error. I think we've got it down a lot better for the sequel that we're going to be starting to write like literally any day now. But yeah, it was really interesting because of course this is his world and these are his characters. So I want to, when I'm writing my pieces, to do them justice and to stay within that world.
Have the same voice.
Yes, exactly. So I obviously read his previous work. I already was familiar with it. And then he also has a whole graphic novel series about Hatter Madigan as an adult. And so there was a lot of that. And then it was really neat because I would write something, he would read it, he would add his writing, then he would send it back, and he wanted my thoughts on his writing, and we really went back and forth. It was truly collaborative, and I like to say it's sort of like I was painting with these colors and he was painting with those colors, and together we make a rainbow or something like that.
So the final result may have been much different than what he had anticipated because you took it to a new place.
I think together we took it. I think absolutely he's working with somebody who's not, in his brain. So for sure, I do think that there were places that we went to that he wasn't initially thinking, but it's really not, you really can't tell which is my writing, which is his, where I started. Like, it was a really neat.
Good.
It's not like I wrote this chapter, he wrote that chapter. It was a lot. It was a fascinating process for me because I didn't actually know that one could write together that much. It was really cool.
It's like improv. You go with it.
Yeah, kind of.
Whatever it is, it's yes.
Yeah.
Well, we know we're familiar with the Mad Hatter from Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah.
Are we going to recognize the other characters?
Well, so the thing with this particular book is it's really its own universe. So what Frank did in his original series was it's set in Wonderland, but it's his version of it. So it's the characters you all already know and love. So you do have the Mad Hatter, for example. But in this case, you have him as Hatter Madigan, and he's the royal bodyguard to the Queen, which is not obviously his character in the original Lewis Carroll books. So what wound up happening was that Hatter Madigan became quite a popular character. So Frank took that, gave him his own graphic novel series. It just sort of became this huge thing. So he wanted to show Hatter training and becoming the warrior he became. So this is sort of it's called the Millenary Academy because obviously the hat reference, but one could, like a military academy.
Right. And the Hatbox means something.
Well, yeah, the Hatbox is, obviously this is a major plot point, which I will not spoil, but it is a brand new training facility at the Academy, and it, as you said with the holographic, it produces holographic sparring partners for the kids so that they can fine-tune their fight skills.
But of course, the word Hatbox references
all the hat, the millinery stuff as well. And the milliners in Frank's world, it's fascinating because they actually are milliners as well. They do create their own hats, and they do create their own uniforms, and they use special silk thread that has magical properties, and that's how they wield what's called imagination in the world in their particular unique ways. There are different ways that various characters throughout Wonderland wield this imagination.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are there any licensing issues when you're using characters that have already been created?
Well, fortunately, with with something like Alice in Wonderland, that's out of copyright. So that's why you can have. There are many actually. It's such an inspiring story, and I think people sort of take it and then they give it their own spin. I kind of call Alice in Wonderland a bit of a Rorschach test. Like, what people see and what they're drawn to in the book is so unique from everybody else. So there's several YA novels that I think there's one's called Alice in Zombieland. There's a lot of playing around. There's a new one out. I can't remember the title, but it's set in a high school, but it's still Alice in Wonderland. It still has the characters, but it's in a high school setting.
Well, it's great
so
because it
people
keeps
can play.
these characters alive
Yeah.
for the new generations.
And you have the new movies. You have Through the Looking Glass, the Tim Burton produced movie, which is coming out, I think, in May. So it's always going to be there. People adore it, and it's really exciting to write in this world and to play with the characters and to play and see what you can change and what kind of. My thing with Alice in Wonderland, so my Rorschach test, was always the wit and whimsy of the language, all the wordplay that Lewis Carroll did. So I enjoy that. I like trying to come up. No one can come up with a better word than galumphing. Like that. Thank you, Lewis Carroll. You are amazing. You know, that's incredible. But I attempt in my own way to play with language.
I think it's exciting when anybody can make reading interesting and fun and addictive for kids and young adults. I think that's exciting.
And I think I understand. I think I've talked about this with you before. I myself am a reluctant reader, a term that wasn't around when I was going through middle school. And it's sort of like, yeah, prove to me that a book is going to be better than a movie, a video game, hanging with my friends. And I think the key to get kids interested in reading is just you just have to write something really fun. It's not about being condescending. It's not about being shorter or
teaching
easier
or being preachy.
It's really just about writing fun. There's a lot of action in this book. Frank and I were on the same page, literally, about the amount of action and just lots of action sequences, but also humor. I love funny books, and I love infusing as much humor into it as well. And then sincere pathos and things that kids can relate to. So, for example, in this book, we have a lot to deal with bullying, but in a way that I personally relate to. The gray area of who's really a bully, who's not, how easy it is to sort of fall into being a bully. And it's not just evil versus good and making smart choices at 13.
We have 30 seconds left. Where do we buy the book?
Bookstores, online.
And what are you doing
websites.
next?
Oh, I have a book coming out. It's next year, so maybe we'll talk about it then.
Yes, come back.
It's called The Explorers Club, and it was recently optioned by Disney, so I'm very excited about that. So yes.
For more information on this or that, AdrienneKress.com. Congratulations. We have a giveaway when we come back. Don't go anywhere. Wow, option by